Perfect.
Okay. Um, I have a fair amount of background from you, but why don't you just tell me a little bit about yourself and what brought you to Impact Accelerators and where you feel that we are in this process?
Okay. So, uh, okay. If we take a way back leap in the old time machine to say 1998, I got my first job as a youth worker, and I quickly grew in the field. I started as a on-call activity worker, and then about 6 weeks, I was a full-time youth development worker, and I had a lot of pride in that job. Um, I did both residential youth care and outreach. I also worked as part of a treatment team for adjudicated youth. Um, Great jobs, but as you know, social service jobs tend to not pay too terribly great. I was living in Vancouver, which is probably the most expensive city in Canada to try and live in. When you're not making much money, it's kind of tough. So,
And a beautiful place, I understand.
well, it's a lovely city.
Yeah.
Um, but at the time, I had just had a small child, and me and his mom were both working two jobs just to make ends meet. It didn't seem like much of a life, so a chance to come a little bit north up to Williams Lake here to work in a mine presented itself. So that was 2012. I've been in the mining industry since. I never had any interest in mining. I didn't even want to come here, to be perfectly honest with you. It was more of a convenience thing. My parents were nearby, help raise him when I was at work and whatnot, so he was always with family. Um, so now that he's 18, he's graduating in about 6 months.
Congratulations.
I want to not be in mining.
Okay.
So this is how we got to Impact Accelerator. I
Perfect.
found Ignacio, or he found me, or somebody found somebody on LinkedIn. I think
Okay.
I found him and just sent a line, and we had a couple conversations back and forth, a video meeting, and then I joined.
Oh, perfect. Well, welcome aboard. And it sounds like you have a lot of experience working with youth and advocacy. And we're going to take a look at your transferable skills so that we can take you back out of mining and more into what you would like to do.
Okay.
Okay. And so I had sent you, I'm having a little problem with my share screen, so I sent them to you yesterday, a couple of resumes. The first one was the one that you and Ignacio were working off of. And the second one, where you caught that we changed it back to youth worker, is what we would consider to be the finalized version.
Okay.
But I just wanted to go through a couple of little changes so you're aware of the additions that we added to this final resume.
Sure.
And then if you're good with that, I'll take it back to Ignacio and we'll finalize your LinkedIn profile. Or have they already done that with you?
I don't think so. I actually haven't looked at my profile in a while. I go on LinkedIn a couple times a day, but
Okay. All right. Well, I know you took a look at these last night because you sent me an email back. The one that I want to focus on was the one that's the third revision, or hopefully the final revision.
okay.
Did you have a chance to look at that yesterday, John?
I saw it too. If you forgive me just for 1 second, I set my alarm to make sure I didn't sleep through, and I can hear it going off. I'll just
Okay,
shut it off.
sure, of course, yes.
Okay, I didn't see a third one. I just saw the two.
Yeah, no, it's the second one. It's the
Oh.
second one we're going to talk about today, and that's the one where we incorporated some of the comments that you and Ignacio spoke about. And if you'd like, I'll run through that with you now, if you have a minute.
I got all day. I'm
Okay.
on your time.
All right. Well, I'm in Phoenix, so I think we have an hour difference. You're in,
Yeah, so I'm just after 5 after 11
yeah,
a.m.
and I'm just a little bit afternoon. So now we got our time schedules correct. But what we did is we went ahead and we incorporated those changes, and that's in the second resume that you had. And basically what we did is added a couple of bullet points onto your professional experience. So if you take a look at the Taseko Mines Limited, we added a couple more lines to show that you represent stakeholders, including the union members, ensuring fair representation during the grievance process in a unionized, process-driven environment. And we also added that you assert case positions effectively while avoiding conflict, which is a key skill that you have, facilitating respectful and productive dialogue. So what we're doing is highlighting your ability to negotiate and advocate in a non-hostile environment, basically. Okay. Then for the key achievements under Taseko Mines, we had a couple, but we added a third one: demonstrated ability to interact with stakeholders and represent their interests at all levels, which is a key skill for you and also transferable into other industries.
Okay.
Okay. I did see your comment about the plea community services, and yes, we have it down as youth development worker, as you properly noted. Okay.
I had to, just because if I needed a reference, there's no way anyone was going to agree I was a program manager.
Oh, no, absolutely. We want to get the proper titles on there. And so that was a really good catch, John. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, and so then the next couple of areas that we added was on Spectrum Learning.
Yeah.
Center as the now here you are a program manager, right?
I was the on-call manager, but we can say that Michelle wouldn't care.
Okay, and so we just added a couple more bullets for you there. One is that you advocated for youth in complex legal situations, mediating disputes and collaborating with stakeholders such as the police officers, lawyers, judges, and probation officers, so that you could represent the youth effectively.
Yeah.
And the other one was facilitated communication between youth, staff, and external stakeholders to address challenges and to build stronger support systems.
Okay.
How does that sound to you?
Interesting, but not inaccurate. Sounds
okay.
Good.
So what we're trying to do is highlight all of your skills, but especially the transferable skills where you can take it out into different industries and take you to the place where you want to be.
Okay.
And so I know Ignacio spoke to me a little bit about what some of the fields that you would be interested in, but why don't you tell me, if we could wave the magical wand and you could get your ideal job, what would that look like to you?
Wow, I see every once in a while some different ones on LinkedIn, but I think if we waved the magic wand, well, that's a tough question.
Well, let's say based on where you're at today and the skills that you carry and maybe some of the industries that you're interested in, using your advocacy and negotiation skills, what's of interest to you?
I would be a full-time mediator.
Okay. And have you thought about those fields or industries that you'd like to do that? I know Ignacio mentioned a couple to me, but do you have any preferences?
No, I know that it can be very difficult to actually land a job as a mediator. Like there's just not that many rules for it. I did mention Ignacio over here in BC. We have the BC Mediate office, and they have all kinds of mediators, and it's just a roster. So once you're in my position, you're a qualified mediator, and you want to get practice, you can sit with a very experienced chartered mediator for 10 mediations until you get that title. But it's definitely more of an on-call side job around another as opposed to a full-time job.
And it sounds like it's also an opportunity for training to get more skilled in the mediation field.
100%, yeah.
Okay. So is that something that you've looked into, John, to start doing, or where
It is.
Yeah?
Yep.
Okay. How does it work? Can anyone join, or you have to have certain credentials before asking to come on board and train, or what is that like?
Yeah, so it's just an application. You have to have, I was shy, like, I don't know, based in hours. And I think I was shy like 2 hours in a certain area of mediation. So I have to go do another mediation course to get that. And then I can apply to be on the roster.
Oh, perfect.
And then once on the roster, you get called X amount of times per year. Pardon me.
And so these 2 hours that you're lacking for the mediation course, where can you go get those, or where are you getting them?
It's always a time or money thing with me, but BD8 BC itself has courses that I could take. Up here we have what's called the Justice Institute of British Columbia. They have very, very specific courses, and they would have what I'm looking for.
Okay, perfect.
Or I could go back to ADR, Ultimate Dispute Resolution BC, and I know them well over there. I could probably talk to one of the instructors and say, hey, can you help me out when you're doing a class? Can I please sit in on this specific area? If you'd let me know when you're running a class. And if the class isn't full, if they have an empty seat, I could probably do it that way.
Okay. So is that something that's like on your to-do list right now, is to kind of get that last 2 hours of mediation in course?
It is, yes, because I'd like to be on the roster.
Okay, perfect. All right. Well, before I go forward, I just wanted to slide backwards a little minute and ask you, what questions do you have on the final resume that I sent you yesterday? How does that look to you?
As I recall, look, I don't have it in front of me, but as I recall, it looked good.
Okay. What I will do then is I will let Ignacio know that you're happy with the final version, and we'll move it forward to have his team work on your LinkedIn profile to make sure it all matches.
Right.
And then I want to talk to you a little bit about your next steps in terms of how can we leverage LinkedIn to help you network and start communicating so that you can find jobs through LinkedIn. It's a very powerful tool if used properly. And so we're going to make sure your profile and your resume are complement one another.
Okay.
And then tell me a little bit how much experience you have on LinkedIn.
Other than going on it and maybe messaging people or doing a basic job search, not a ton.
Okay, so our next steps will be to kind of work with you on how to maximize and make use of your LinkedIn profile. And you're going to start networking there, just exactly like you've done where you've sent some messages or kind of looked for job searches. Once we narrow down what fields you're looking for, we can do a full-on job search on LinkedIn. And that can mean many different things, John. It can mean perhaps you're going to connect directly with recruiters or agencies that can help promote you. You also can actively look for jobs either on LinkedIn or go directly to their website. And also be willing to outreach like you talked about doing and messaging people as a way of networking. And you can network by either making a cold call and saying, hey, my name's John and I see that you work here, or what we call warm, have a coffee conversation or just a conversation on LinkedIn, just like we're having, to learn a little bit more maybe about the specific industry or job that you're interested in. How does that sound to you?
Okay.
All righty. So I am going to follow up and have this resume finalized, and we'll start working on your LinkedIn profile. And then when that's ready, I probably would want to set up another session with you to really start really honing in on LinkedIn and how to use it.
Okay.
Agencies, recruiters, online jobs and applications, and networking. And then we can get a little bit more, we can drill down a little bit more onto specific industries that you're interested in. Some of them that I think you're interested in are possibly government, healthcare, nonprofits, and maybe possibly natural resources. Does that sound right?
Yeah. The nonprofit thing, that one's a little tougher because I spent all those years I was a youth worker. That's all nonprofit, right?
Exactly.
You tend to not make much money there. So that's my hindrance on the nonprofit. Other than that, the companies are fine in and of themselves.
Okay. Exactly. And with nonprofits, usually what the draw is, or the attraction to working with a nonprofit, is that you are committed to the service that they're offering or providing. And it sounds like you definitely were very committed with the youth advocacy.
Yep.
And it does appear that you have a lot of transferable skills. For example, I know you're no longer interested in mining, but natural resources might be a natural
Right.
place to transfer, and also government and healthcare, right?
Yeah.
So it sounds like in order to jump into this opportunity with this mediation office, you need to get 2 more hours of mediation under your belt.
Yeah, the specific. They told me I have it written down. Like when you on their application form, you have to break down all your training hours into these different categories, and it's just this one category. I'm missing about 2 hours worth of training on it.
Okay, so that might be a good next step for you to pursue while we're putting all of this together for you here. Either through, and you said you have 2 different avenues to go. One is the Institute of British Columbia, and the other is ADR.
Yeah, Justice Institute of British Columbia and ADR.
Okay, and so tell me a little bit. What are your plans? What are you thinking in terms of next steps to connect with them?
Well, that's just easy. That's just I have Ann Lee on my LinkedIn, and she is the manager of Mediate BC. So we've had conversations back and forth in the past. So that's pretty straightforward. Like I say, it's usually time or money for me.
Exactly. So how much will this cost you? Do you have an idea?
So if I can do it at ADR BC, probably nothing.
Okay.
If I have to do it if I have to go right through Mediate BC or through the Justice Institute, I have no idea.
Okay, but that's something you can sort of follow up with in the next few days and find out, see if you can
It
connect.
won't be the next few days because
Okay.
I'm going back to work tomorrow.
All right. Okay.
I'm not sure what I'd probably have to find out when they're offering the courses, talk to them, and then book days off of work around it if I'm working to ensure.
I got it. Okay. And are you able to reach out with Anne and kind of be able to communicate with her through LinkedIn to find out what it might look like, the next steps?
Well, I already know the next steps. Is I would probably be more reaching out to her to find out when the next course that the Mediate BC is having that would cover the hours needed for training that they're looking for from me would be. That would probably be more the conversation I would have with her, and then make sure I have the funds and sign up that way and time off.
Okay. Well, it looks like you've already created an excellent connection on LinkedIn with Anne, and so it looks like you're already starting the process here.
That's my biggest advantage is not really anybody in the mining industry on my LinkedIn profile. Everybody on there is somewhere in the area of dispute resolution.
Okay, perfect. So that tells me that you've already started making connections and will be able to use and leverage your LinkedIn profile to help you move forward in the application process.
Yeah. There's just one more thing. Ignacio and I have kind of gone over this. So I'm 54, right? So I'm fighting ageism here pretty badly. So what I need to do is wherever I go, it's got to be open to working past 65, and it's got to be a job I want to do past 65. Yeah, I know. I know a few guys at the mine that have gone till 71, 72. That's not going to be me.
Well, it sounds to me it's like finding the right corporate culture where they see the skills, the transferable skills that you're bringing to them, and that it's the right environment for you as well. I like to think about overcoming what we call objections to opportunities. And here's an opportunity to take your skills that you've learned, and rather than see it as ageism, we can turn that around and we can showcase all of the skills that you've learned and that you bring with you to the next position. So
that is true. But ageism is a real thing. Actually, some lady just had a brilliant article on it on LinkedIn the other day about ageism.
And it's one of those things, I mean, I've got my silver hair to prove it, where, you know, with our age comes wisdom and experience. And so that's sort of the other side of the coin.
Right.
It's important for you to go into the mindset of that as we get you set up and you find the interviews that are a good match, corporate and cultural match for what you're looking for.
The other question that kind of weighs around in my head, that I probably open a can of worms with this question, but if I could figure out how to go out on my own, that might be also something that might be a better or equally as good. I don't know what I would do because, like I said, it's hard to just say, hey, I'm a mediator and get work. But
this might be an area where your network with Anne, she might be able to, you know, these are the kinds of conversations that we want to start developing with your, the connections that you already have on LinkedIn of people who can kind of possibly guide you in terms of what would it look like if you were an independent contractor or you went out on your own.
Yeah, I was talking to a gentleman yesterday or the day before, and he kind of had the right aptitude and right personality, I guess very similar to me. So his work just kind of put him through the education and made him into that role. Now, I don't know how easy it would be to find a company that would do that, but he even said it is pretty tough. Like, unless a company's really looking for someone that knows how to deal with stressful situations or unruly kind of employees that, you know, are getting down to last chance agreement and they need to be talked to and kind of maybe encouraged or whatever.
Yeah, and it sounds like you have the skills to do that. And what we need to do is fill it out by making sure you get the last couple of hours that you need so we can really start promoting the full package of mediation skills to these companies.
Just so you're aware, that last 2 hours is only applicable to Mediate BC. To anyone else in the free world, I'm a qualified mediator.
Okay. You are?
No. Oh, yeah, I'm certified.
Oh, okay.
Absolutely. No, just to sit on their roster, I need like 2 hours.
I got it. Okay, good. Thanks for that clarification. Yeah.
Yeah, you betcha.
So do you have any questions that you have for me before we sign off here today? What does your schedule look like? It sounds like you've got a busy work schedule.
It's an odd one. So I
Okay.
work 5 on, 5 off, 5 on, 4 off, 4 on, 5 off.
Oh, okay.
And
And so the best thing is for me to reach out when we're ready to have another meeting like this, and we'll coordinate it with our calendars.
yeah, because I alternate day shift and night shift every set.
Oh my goodness.
So ultimately, if I come on night shift, unless we're doing it at like 8:30 in the morning, I always need it, preferably later afternoon. That's why I keep telling Ignacio.
Okay.
I'm very tired when I get home.
Okay. Well, we can work around your schedule for sure. And what I'll do is let Ignacio know that we're good with the finalized version of the resume, tie it in with your LinkedIn, and then
So
I'll reconnect with you on next steps.
give me 1 sec. I'm hoping I don't lose you. I'm gonna naturally. I'm going to just go. I'm not sure how to get you back. I was just gonna look at that. I'm trying to find it. Was that Ignacio or you that sent it to me?
I sent it to you, but if you want after this conversation, once we get it finalized, we'll send you the final version. So don't worry about that. We'll send you the final copy of it.